Assalamu alaikum, and it's your host Miyaska on the Stani Army verdict. Today we're going to be previewing the second test between England and Pakistan, which is scheduled to go ahead coming Thursday at Southampton. England took the lead at Old Trafford, beating Pakistan on the fourth day in circumstances which were not expected on the start of, say, day four, because Pakistan were quite firm favourites. But Josh Butler and Chris Wokes took the whole game away. So we'll be going through a little bit of that last game, but mainly looking forward to the next game. I've got a guest with me today. First of all, I've got Dr. Samara Afzal. And then I've got Tanzil Khwaja. And I've got the Hulkistan. How you guys doing?
Good, thank you.
First of all, I'll come to Tanzil. Tanzil, last time we spoke to this time we speak, a lot's happened.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
So it's a good thing you started off about the last time we spoke, because the last time we spoke, we said that Pakistan should not play two spinners, and if they were to play one spinner, it should play Shadab over Yasir. And I think what Yasir showed was basically, we didn't just have a slice of humble pie, we ate the whole thing. And I'm quite, obviously he was an absolute warrior in that first test, I think, by the end of it. And so I think his performance was just outstanding. And we were wrong about selecting one spinner over and dropping Yasir. So he performed really well. But in terms of the actual game itself, it's just too much to talk about, really. Pakistan won more sessions than England did, but the thing was that England when the sessions that they won, they made them count. They capitalized on the mistakes that Pakistan made, and they took the initiative, and they completely turned the game around. So in a nutshell, I'm sure we'll get into the details, but in a nutshell, it was a game that Pakistan should have won, and England did unbelievably well to actually win it in the
end. Dr. Flora, just looking at what Tanzil just said there, as we said, the crucial sessions that day before, how good was that batting by Chris Wokes and Josh Butler?
Yeah, they were outstanding. I think, especially Chris Wokes, he's not been in the best of batting form recently, and I think I think Pakistan ball maybe too full to him, and he played some really cracking drives to the boundary, and I think they got themselves, they built their confidence, and they just carried on from there. And I think him and Josh Butler were outstanding and just took the game away from Pakistan at that point.
Yeah, Hulk. We went through this the other day, and it was a lengthy discussion. I'm not going to go back into that with you, because that was hard. An hour later, half an hour later after the game finished, yeah, you and me were trying to lift our spirits. It was hard. I'm going to go to the Pakistan team with you. It's going to be on the ticker right below you right now. Would you make any changes coming into Southampton?
I think the main thing that I'd change is we need to have an extra batsman. So it's nothing against Shadab. I think he got some really valuable runs in the first innings. I think he got 42 runs. He provided a bit of variety with the spin. How often do you see two leggies bowling at the same time? But as I said, nothing against him. But I'd play the extra batsman. I'd take Shadab out, and I'd play Fawad Alam. I think it just makes the batting look that little bit stronger. Yeah, that's the main change that I would make. The other thing that I'd just be a bit mindful of is Naseem Shah. As brilliant as he is, he's very young. He's still only a teenager. Will his body stand up to 3 tests back to back to back? I wouldn't want to take the risk. So it's whether or not you drop him now or you drop him in the 3rd test. And if you drop him, I'd bring in another pacer, which is Wahab Riaz, the fastest bowler that we've got in the reserves. Those are the only 2 changes that I'd make.
Tanzil, we just mentioned Shadab.
Yeah.
He didn't do much wrong, did he? But if you're not going to use him as a bowler, what's the point picking him?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that, a lot of people ask that sort of question when Shadab was not bowling. It's like, where is Shadab? Why isn't he, on the why isn't he on the pitch bowling? I don't think we can call him a batsman. I don't think Pakistan should be playing him as a batsman only, nor should they be playing him as a batting all-rounder. He started off as a bowler, and yes, in recent times his batting has obviously improved. He's done wonders in the PSL this year, and there's nothing wrong, in his first innings, apart from the silly mistake, obviously, when he got out. He actually batted quite well. The problem is now, I know. Look, I am also a team for one. I think he has to have a chance to play. He has to be given the chance. The problem is, though, he hasn't played for Pakistan for such a long time, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure his numbers in the intra-squad games weren't fantastic either. I think he had one innings which was over 50, but I can't remember off the top of my head. So there is that question: is how?
I think he was top scorer in that game.
Yeah. So there is that question of how match ready is Fawad Alam actually. And yes, we can say that, okay, we'll throw him in there for the second test, get him in as an extra batsman, take Shadab out. The problem being that Pakistan are 1-0 down. If they were 1-0 up, I think having Fawad as an option to bat wouldn't be such a bad idea. Problem is, being 1-0 down, you really want to make sure that you play your strongest squad to make sure you get to 1-1. And I'm not sure at the moment, is Fawad actually that much stronger than Shadab in terms of batting?
Mm-hmm. Dr. Samora, do you want to add anything to that?
I think I agree. I think where Pakistan in this test match were let down was that second innings of 168. I'm sorry, but that wasn't 168 pitch. There were a few bad shots. I mean, Abid Ali was dropped by Ben Stokes. He had the perfect opportunity. He should have gone on and scored big, but then played the wrong shot. And then we had, Asad Shafiq, who was doing well, and then the silly run out. So I think that batting lineup needs to be strengthened. So I agree. I personally think Fawad Alam needs a chance because I can see something point, but then when do you put him in the team? The way Pakistan play, there's always going to be kind of concerns, and it's always going to be a tricky call. And I think it's the right chance to give Fawad that go. And you're right, Shadab wasn't utilised. If he wasn't utilised, then what's the point? Yes, he had a handy 40 within the first innings, but I think Fawad, has the potential. He's got thousands of runs in domestic cricket, and I think we now need to give him that chance to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we're going to look at the England team, but before that, I'm going to look at some of the comments that have come. Elite Martial, United. Okay, I wasn't supposed to do that, but he's got some eyes, showing me eyes right now. So that might be you, Hulk. You might have triggered that one off. No,
sorry,
someone showing us eyes is a United fan. Oh yeah. Tahir Judge said weather updates from Southampton. There's a bit of rain around, but I don't think it's gonna affect the game as such. The percentage is quite low. We might get a 4-day game overall, which in England is more than enough to have a result. OV Bud said, I'm watching from Srinagar. Umar says, I completely agree. Rather than calling out our players, I think we just need to tip off our hats. I think he means take off our hats to Wilkes and Butler. Yes, the captaincy is questionable, but England was fantastic. Calling Wahab back and losing or sustaining Naseem and Shaheen and losing, I would 10 times out of 10 go with the latter. I think the problem is, I think he's saying Wahab shouldn't play, but then we're just looking at Naseem's age and his injury record in the past, and we do not want him to play 3 games in a row and have a long-term effect. I think you've got to take care of your fast bowlers. England. Hulk, first of you, would you make any changes?
Well, I think the one
thing is not there anyhow, so that's one.
Yes, I think that's going to be the main thing for England is that what do you do about Stokes? How do you fill that gap? And then think that he's almost got that Flintoff kind of persona that even just to have him on the field, he lifts the team. He's got such a big personality and players will look to him. So that's going to be a massive gap for England. And obviously they're not going to get someone to fill that from that perspective. But, Stokes wasn't supposed to bowl. So maybe they'll just play another batsman instead of an all-rounder. But, I mean, then there's also Anderson as well. Are they going to play him in the second test as well? I think there were points during the first test where he didn't seem at his best, really, just even around the field. So I think there is going to be there might be just some changes, obviously. They'll bring someone in for Stokes, another batsman, I'd say, and maybe Anderson might drop out.
I think Darren Goff was on Talk Sport when I was just driving home from work, and I think he said he wouldn't play Anderson. Dr. Samara, would you play Anderson, or is it time to select him in particular games?
I just think if you stick to basics, why change a winning team? I know Ben Stokes is a forced change because he's won to New Zealand, but the rest of the team, I don't think there needs to be anything. I think they're doing things that currently not, and I think James Anderson will film against West Indies. He's an outstanding bowler. He's got potential, and I think he should. I think they should put the same team apart from Ben Stokes.
Chanzil, Stokes out. How big a loss is it, and how do England cope with it?
Yeah. Well, yeah. First of all, we don't know. We know there's something possibly wrong in his family. So we wish whoever it is well. And I hope nothing terrible comes about. First of all, I think yes. Obviously, we know how massive a player Stokes is. He makes things happen. Okay, his batting wasn't up to scratch in this first test, but in the second innings he got some wickets later on in the day, and he made things happen. So yes, massive team player, so massive hole to fill in the team. I guess Zach Crawley's probably in the wings. He might come in at 3. Root might drop, to preferred number 4, and I think Curran might actually come in place of Anderson. I think the sort of conditions of Southampton and to extend England's batting as well. Let's not forget, like I said before, Pakistan were on top most of the sessions in the match, and England's batting, wasn't deep. It was a long tail, so England will be wary of that, and especially the fact that they lost the test at Southampton against the West Indies through batting collapse. I think England will probably prefer to play an extra sort of batsman as well. So Crawley comes in. I think Curran will come in for Anderson. So that sort of sorts out the batting. And then you've also got, Curran's an amazing bowler. And then you've got the sort of left arm, right arm combination as well, which, is always, I think, needed in an attack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other interesting one is Jos Butler. If he didn't play that in England day 4, I think he might have actually been on the brink of getting dropped. They can't really drop him now. Does he keep the gloves or not?
Yeah, just say quickly. Yeah, I think you're right to say he would have been on the brink of, but I don't think they would have dropped him. Only if you listen to what Nasser Hussain said at the end of the first test, he was talking about there are just some players that you persist with. There are just some players that you have to back and you have to have faith in. And Jos Butler, he said, was one of them. So obviously he paid off for England. We don't know, have Pakistan, made a hero out of Butler now for the series, as they usually do, make a hero out of someone who's struggling for form. So we don't know, how Jos will play in the next 2, but he will obviously now be playing the whole series. There's no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, we've for Pakistan, we're only thinking about one change, maximum 2, depending on how they think and Naseem's feeling after 2 one test just finishing. And England, Stokes not available. One change enforced, and then they might just make a second choice change as well. In the fast bowling ranks, and again, 6 tests are a long time in this sort of space of time. In 5 weeks, 6 weeks, they've got 6 tests. That is very hard going. Nida Khan, how about Pakistan team go with one more batsman? Azhar Ali can bowl part time. If we're using Shadab as a part timer, I think we've all agreed that Fawad this is the time for Fawad to get a chance now. So Pakistan, I think you need to play the 6 batsmen. Pakistan didn't lose that game with the bowling. They lost that game on day 3, last session with the batting. That's where they lost the game. The extra 50, 60 runs, and that probably would have been the game. So that's that. I'm just going to quickly put up a little stat. Azhar Ali averages 11 in his last 18, that's 9 games outside Asia. Are the remaining 2 tests the most important of his career? Doctor?
I think I know he's come under a lot of criticism, and I've read on Twitter for calls to drop him, and of course he can't drop the captain amidst the series. And we know historically he's performed. He's got thousands of domestic runs behind him. He's got loads of international runs. I think he just needs one good innings to find his form. I mean, if you look at the way his dismissals, the way he was out playing across, just basically playing across the line, getting LBW. And I think he just lacks that confidence at the moment. And I think we need to give him confidence. And I know, being Pakistan supporters, we were putting on social media, and I think that probably doesn't help. I don't know if they look at their tweets or not, but I think we need to back him now. I genuinely think he's one good innings out there. We need to find his form.
Yeah, Tanzil, it was a bit. There was a lot of criticism, but there's a fine line, isn't it, on criticizing a captain's performance or his batting performance and going right into him as a personal level. Just off here, you and me were just discussing that earlier.
Yeah.
He's not a character who's ever got involved in anything, and it's so unfair at someone like him to be receiving that personal sort of abuse.
Yeah, so like we were discussing, everyone has identified, his flaw with, his head going over too far, and he's always being trapped at the crease, LBW. It's just, for him, it's just becoming so routine now, and I think he's just that in part of his career. It's just, I don't think it's something that he can just switch off and just change all of a sudden. So, yeah, these next 2 matches, these 4 innings, if Pakistan do play 4 innings, they're going to be absolutely crucial for Azhar Ali. And just on the point of criticism, yes, we can criticize his inability to sort of overcome his problem over the last few years that he's had. We can criticize his captaincy when England were 117 for 5. There's quite a few things that went wrong at that point when Pakistan could have ended the match. But like we were saying off before, personal attacks on Azhar Ali, wishing him harm and all that. It's just we don't need that. We just need to rise above that. We can criticize his game and everything, but just nothing. It just has to have to be personal.
Hulk, I know you got strong opinions on the on the abuse or that side of it. You got some very strong opinions. Just tell us about them.
Yeah, I mean, I've followed Pakistan now for 28 emotional years. So there's been lots of ups and there's been lots of downs, and I've been through it all.
There's some emotional deeps as well amongst it.
So I'm not even going to go there on that yet. We need a whole show dedicated to that, right? But I mean, it's like criticize the players' performances, the tactics, the strategy, etc., and all that. That's absolutely fine, right? There's nothing wrong with that, the selection, etc. But when you start doing personal attacks, that's just like, what are you doing? That all that does, it just shows what you're like as a person. That you think it's okay if you attack someone personally like that, and I find it downright disgusting. That people can actually stoop to that level to do personal attacks, and sometimes it's not even on the player; it's on the player's family as well. And I hate being associated with people like that. I think that if it was up to me, and if I could, I'd ban them from supporting the team. I know that's petty, but I hate that completely. At the end of the day, it's a game. We all love it. We all follow it. I'm getting my kids. I'm forcing my kids to start watching it from an early age, right? And I want them to. I want them to love it. I want them to see the fun in it. There's life lessons that you can learn just supporting a team. How you deal with victories, how you deal with losses at the end of the day. So, yeah, if anyone's watching this, that's done any personal attacks on the players, shame on you. There's no other words on it, really.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like, for example, a lot of people know, and a lot of people watching that, for example, I'm not a big Shoaib Malik fan. I've actually defended Shoaib Malik when, people have gone after him and his wife. Why do they need to, target his wife on this? I don't get that part. You can say his performance, you can mention that, but why do you need to go to that point where you go after this person's family life? That it's not needed. Interestingly enough, look at the next question. Naz 1-0. Why do some Pakistan supporters take their passion for the game to another level, i.e. hateful comments towards the team and individual players? So we've actually got a question that says exactly the same thing. That why do people do this? Doctor, do you understand this?
I think, you know, apart from cricket, there is no other big passion, is there, in Pakistan? And, you know, one of the reasons I remember people asking, why do you support Pakistan? And I remember my dad once said to me, and he said, and you know, I can understand that is not just because they've been born and brought up there, but because there's so much, so many problems in Pakistan, you know, unemployment, and so many natural disasters, that the one thing people cling on to is cricket. And I think it's an obsession more than just a hobby. And I think that's why people get carried away. But at the same time, you wouldn't, you know, abuse your own family members if you had a, well, I hope you're not in a confrontation with them. So again, I completely agree. I don't think family members should be abused. I've been on the other side of that, and it's not pleasant. You know, we have nothing to do with it. You know, from that perspective, you don't want to be involved. I think sometimes it's difficult because you can go on social media and say things, and I think once you start tweeting about things, people think that's the go-ahead sign to then attack back. But I think everybody should be polite in what they say. Everyone has an entitled opinion on social media, and that's what it's there for. But I think everybody needs to not cross any boundaries and just be polite and make their point reasonably.
Mm-hmm. I remember like World Cup, and I think Hulk will remember it as well. We came back from the India game, and we like looked at social media. We've made this journey 4 hours up to Manchester. For example, I drove down with my family. Now I've got 3 children, my wife with me, and it was a tough journey back. You know, we've just gone and lost to India again in a World Cup game, and I remember we come back, and Bilal the next morning, one of our members actually said to me, well, no, he put it up in the group, and he said, have you seen some of the abuse that's going on? And we said, yeah, we have. And he actually put up a rule of the games, and it's actually on the Stani Army Twitter as a pinned tweet, and it'll probably stay there forever now. And there's 6 bullet points. And the do nots are: do not use abusive language for your team, do not ridicule your team, do not attack their families. And the 3 that you said you can do are: you support your team, especially when they lose, criticize performance without any disrespect, remember you're the 12th man, the world is watching you. So I think that crucial part, you're the 12th man, you're sort of representing your country as well. So it's something for some people to think. I think Azhar Ali's criticism, and not just by fans, there's sections of the media, there's pockets of the media that have done it as well. There's people and ex-players as well. It's pretty sorry, because Azhar Ali, not to my knowledge anyhow, I've never seen him involve himself. Nidha Khan again replaced Abid Ali also with Imam, criticising Azhar Ali only for his form. We need to remember that Asad Shafiq also has not performed well. He's going to play 70th test and needs to be in good form. Yeah, you know, it's one of them. But I think Abid Ali for Imam might be a little bit too early. He had a bad test. He had a very bad test. But then you look at it, and his performances just before that, in the 3 games before that, he's only still fairly new, and he's got, I think, 300s, or is it 200s? I think we need to give him some time. And Usman Azam said, will Fawad be able to make runs in these conditions with his technique? This is something that's always discussed, isn't it? Fawad Alam's technique. It's like basically one of them where how would I put this? The ex-selectors, coaches, management, maybe captains, they've always looked at that technique and said, this is not going to work. Tanzil, what do you think?
Well, I mean, if they'd said the same about Shivnarine Chanderpaul, then he wouldn't have played for the West Indies. So, if a player's got runs, if he shows that he can, wield a bat and he can score, why not give him a chance? I still don't understand why. How long has he not played for Pakistan? Like 10 years or something? I still don't understand why he hasn't had the opportunity to, make a case for himself, even though he's scored so many runs. And I don't think technique. I mean, look at Steve Smith. obviously his stance is orthodox, but when he's on the crease, the way he leaves the ball, the way he plays the drives and everything, we saw in the last Ashes, you wouldn't call his, dramatic leaves as very orthodox either. But I'm not comparing Fawad to Steve Smith, by the way, before people start saying, making comparisons. But I'm just saying that, each batsman has something that works for him. And it's not, I don't think it's anyone's place to be like, without even giving a chance, saying, no, that doesn't work and it's not going to work. If it's worked for him in domestic circuits, then, he's showed that he can use a bat. So I think his technique thing is just a sorry sort of excuse for people to try and justify, don't pick Fawad.
We got Noor Gul saying, Azhar Ali averages 11 outside age in the last 3 years. He was clean swept by Bangladesh when he was ODI captain, lost his place as leadership in PSL. On what basis was he made captain? Samara. So...
I think he's very much like Ms. Balak, isn't he? I think having known them both, I think they're very much like in personality, and I think maybe one would have, wanted to replace like for like. And Ms. Abba has done really well, hasn't he? He's led the team here, for that Test series, and I think, and he's a nice guy. And I know that some people may not say that being nice is should be taken out when you're captain, but he's genuinely a nice guy. He's hardworking, and I think he's one of those guys that has probably got good control over the team. In the past, guys like Shoaib Akhtar, clearly they wouldn't have the team all together, and they can be a bit wayward in the way they think. Some people are just not captain material. But I think Azhar Ali, in theory, he's got the qualities there to make a good captain. I just think it's unfortunate that he's struggling with his form, and I think that's probably having some adverse effect on his captaincy as well.
I'm going to move on. Hulk, back to you. And Raheel 0194, Wahab if match fit for Naseem and Imam for Abid Ali. Thoughts on these changes? Play next test and rest him for the final test, or rest the second test and play him for the final test? Again, the same sort of thing. But he added on, because it was a very long question, turning points of the first test came in both of our two innings. First innings, Shadab slogged the best. Second innings, as Shafiq's run out. Had those not been handled better, I think we might have had the possibility, and I think he said, off winning the game, because I'll still run out of characters at the end. I think we've discussed them changes. Were there the two crucial moments of the game?
So, you can look back at it, and there's always those little key points that you're saying, if something else had happened, if they did it wrong, if they did this, then obviously things would have changed. You can look at Sean's innings, as brilliantly as he batted to get his 150 odd. I think what was it, 3 chances that were that Butler missed. So what if one of them had been taken as well? So there's always those key moments. The heartbreaking thing for me is that we scored 320 odd in the first innings, and we had England 12 for 3. And we still lost. And you look at that, in black and white, and that's, there's no way to get away from the heartbreak of it all that we had last Saturday. But everyone needs to remember there are a lot of people in this team that are young. Shaheen's, as brilliant as he is, he's only 21. If anything, this is going to serve as a learning experience for them. They will learn from this. They will get better. You can have as many intra-squad games as you want. Nothing compares to what's to a real game on the international stage. The players will take this away. They'll learn from it. They'll pick up experience from it. You've got to remember who's in the backstage, who's in the coaching staff. I've been watching cricket for 28 years. I've never seen people like Mushi, Misbah, Yunus Khan, Waqar Yunus, all 4 of them in the coaching staff. Think about the wealth of experience they've got there. So I wouldn't, be pessimistic or downtrodden. The only way is up. Get behind your team. That's what we want.
The one thing we always say is, as long as we put up a fight, that's the most irritating thing as a fan, is to see no fight. And we put up a very good fight there. And again, we can look at mistakes, but then England could look at some mistakes of theirs, as you said as well. So it works both ways. As long as we put up a fight, that's all that matters. Again,
sorry. Just to say one thing on that, about putting up a fight. one of the brilliant things that I saw, was that when Naseem was bowling, he'd bowl at 90 miles an hour, and he's 17 years old. He'd actually walk up to the English batsmen and stare them out. And I think for a 17-year-old to do that, to give them that Curly Ambrose death stare, I thought was brilliant. Right? There was nothing, there was no malice behind it. It was just going with the game, that little bit of banter and stuff. But to be able to do that, I just think that the future's so bright for him, because that is what Pakistan's associated with. That's something that we've been missing for a while now. Someone to come in, dig in with those 90-mile-an-hour balls and put a bit of aggression in, maybe try and intimidate the opposition. That was brilliant to see from him.
I've had today at work, I had two Englishmen now saying to me, wow, that kid. And that's all they say is, wow, that kid. Because, like, he's like sort of made their attention. And I think one of them said today, he said, the only thing I didn't like was he's a bit too aggressive. He was like in the England batsmen's faces. I think that probably comes from Vakar Tanzil. I think that's probably something of Vakar's probably instilling in him, that fast bowling aggression.
Yeah, no, it's right. Pakistan have lost that sort of in-your-face aggressive bowlers, and I guess it's also down to the fact that the sort of ICC has started to clamp down on a lot of these things as well. We know how Rabada is very, we know about his celebrations and what's happened with him. So yes, there's a finer line now than there was before. But I think it's definitely it's good to see that, especially from a young upcoming fast bowler. I just want to go back a bit, talk about some key moments. And I think, we're all in agreement that the second innings was where sort of Pakistan, lost the game, lost the momentum and everything. And this is what I've said to a few people, this is what separates, an okay team from an absolutely amazing test team. How can you overcome these moments? And look at England, 117 for 5, and have gone on to win the game. If Abid Ali doesn't do that slog, if we don't have that run out in the second innings, if we were only, if Pakistan were 5 down at the end of the day and they come in to bat the next day, looking at day 4, 5 down, 200 odd runs ahead, 230 odd runs ahead. It could have been 320, 330, 340, by the end of it. So it's just these tiny moments. And I think there's this one thing that we haven't actually talked on, and it's been actually highlighted by a few people when Butler got out in the first innings, on day 2, in the first over of day 2. There is a slight lapse in his game when there's a break in between. He either loses a bit of concentration, or there's a slight air of overconfidence in his game when this happens. And this is something I think that he also needs to sort of go back a bit and sort of work on as well, because I'm not saying that the first innings wasn't amazing. Scoring 300 odd from Pakistan's position is fantastic, but then again, you think about what could have been. If Babar had sort of just let that ball go through. It wasn't a fantastic delivery by Anderson by any means. It was Babar faced much better and Anderson bowled much better as well. So I wouldn't say that it was an unbelievably unplayable delivery, but Babar overcomes that. Babar scores 100. Shan goes up to score his 150 odd. Pakistan are scoring 350, 360 easily. So these micro things in these games, they're the ones that sort of separate teams from being really good, from average to amazing test teams. So there's a lot for Pakistan to work on for the second one.
Yeah, Dr. Flora, just Babar, it just come up to me and that question's like hit my head just there. First innings as well, and then the second innings, in my opinion, especially if Babar wants to be regarded elite, like Pakistani elite in terms of Javed Miadad, Inzamam ul Haq, Muhammad Yusuf, Yunus Khan, for example, or Zaid Abbas, if he wants to be counted under them, these are the sort of moments he has to seize and propel Pakistan to victories, I guess.
Yeah, I think Babar Azam's outstanding. As we know, he's top class player. I think what as you said, to be with the best, you have to learn quickly. And I think both dismissals pretty similar. Swinging outside off stump, edged it. And I think you have to be very, very quick learner. And I think he is. And I think, again, we probably need to give him time. He hasn't got much experience batting on English wickets and, similar dismissals to the rest of the Pakistani batsmen. But I think hopefully I think he will leave a few more balls outside our stump in the coming test match, and I think that's what we need to see really, is selecting which balls to leave, which balls to play at. And I know, it is difficult. It's easy to say, but having a amazing bowling unit like England have got, Ward, Archer, Brooks, Smith, it is difficult with what they can do with the ball. But I think they need to learn quickly and know what to leave, which balls to play, and which balls they just simply need to let go.
Mm-hmm. Hulk Cass says we need Fawad in. Cass.
We need Fawad in.
I'm not even talking to Cass right now. You know who Cass is, isn't it? I'm not talking to him. Did you see what he said today? If I come to East London, it's only to eat at a restaurant.
What? Yeah.
So I live like 2 minutes away from that restaurant, and he has to mention the restaurant and not mention like come to meet me. No, Cass, I'm not having this.
I think that with the fourth thing, we've obviously spoken about it, yeah, but I just hope that there's obviously going to be a lot of pressure on him. As Tanzil mentioned, it's been 10 odd years since he last played for Pakistan. And one of the things that someone suggested was maybe they shouldn't play him now. Maybe they should wait for a series that there's not so much pressure. I think the problem for that is that what is it? Are we going to wait until we play someone like a really low-ranked team when we're 2-0 ahead and then put him in there? That's never going to happen. You're like the Dr. Smara mentioned about Babar, about turning those moments, about being the player to kind of seize those moments. Fawad has to, if he's given the opportunity, he has to seize it with both hands. It's been 10 years since he last played. It's now or never, really. And that might be unfortunate. It might be difficult, but that's something they're going to have to do. Sorry, Tanzil, I think you want to say something?
I've got a question, actually. So in regards to Fawad, how are we going to gauge that his inclusion in the team was a success? Are we saying, do people want him to score 200s in both innings? Are people going to be happy with a 50 in one and a 30 in the other? So again, this is such a wide thing regarding Fawad Alam. It's just, when are people going to be happy that it was a great choice? So I don't know. What does everyone think, basically?
There is no answer to it. I don't think there is an answer to that, because he could score 100 in both innings, and then he can have a bad test in the third test, and then people will be against him. And vice versa, you could have like 2 really bad games, and the people who support it would still regardless say that he needs a longer run. So this is Pakistan cricket, never changes. Noor Gul, so being a nice guy is good enough to lead the big series. Guys, Azhar is not captain material. Love Azhar as a batsman and as a person, but captain, no way. Look, how do we change a captain mid-series? We can't, can we, Doctor?
No, you can't. What would that say is, to the wider world and as a unit, if you suddenly drop your captain, you can't. But then going forward, who would you have as captain? Would you put that pressure on Babar Azam to then lead limited and test? Who is there then? Who else would you pick as a captain?
Yeah, exactly. I think there's the other 2 options are Babar Azam and Shan Masood maybe, and the Babar. I don't think, apart from Virat Kohli, I don't think there's another captain in the world who does all 3 formats. In fact, there's teams like England who are doing 3 captains, 3 formats. So there's you can't. We discussed this the other day after the test, and Babar, you can't make him captain all 3 formats and have him as your best batsman. You're putting too much on his shoulders. It just won't end well. So that's that. I'm going to go to the other questions. So we've got loads of questions. Here we are. And this question: what do you think about Haider Ali? When should he be included in the test team? Hulk, what do you think? Isn't it too early at the moment? I think we've got, say, Fawad Alam and maybe even Iftikhar, who are ahead of him at the moment, to come in the team.
Yeah, I think that we can only have 11 in the team, and everyone has to have their time, really. So I don't think there's we're not going to get rid of Abid Ali. He's only had a couple of innings at the moment. So where would you put him in? Where would you put Iftikhar in? Where would you put Imam in? We're not going to make 5 changes from one test to the other. That's just going to completely change the DNA of the, yeah. That's what I mean. There's people crying out that we need to get rid of all 11, bring in a new 11. What's going to happen? The world's going to end. We need to calm down. Make 1 or 2 changes. That's it. Go into the second test, and inshallah we'll win. That's it.
Next question. Drop Azhar, play Safraz as captain and batsman, and play Rizzi. Safraz can't be as bad in both departments. We're going too far. We're going too far. You can't be dropping your captain. I'm not going to even entertain it at the moment. We can't be dropping our captain, regardless of what it is, whatever we think of him, his performance. You cannot go into one test and overseas tour and then drop him. Let's look at, apart from it looks very embarrassing.
Yeah.
What about your tactics that your coaching staff, your management's made with your captain? How do you instill them to a new person, within a week? It breaks the whole squad down. Imagine the ones who are in support of Azhar. How do they cope? What about the pressure you put onto a new captain? It just doesn't make any sense. Deb, how much will Ben Stokes having to leave the camp will affect England? Personally, I've arrested him if he still couldn't bowl. I guess it's. I think Deb's been saying that for a while. Anyhow, Doctor, that Stokes needs some rest. If he can't bowl, drop him as a batsman as well for at least for one test. It's too much on him. But I mean, how much will England be affected just by Stokes not being around?
I think psychologically they will be affected. I mean, last match, Ben Stokes wasn't bowling, but Joe brought him on to get a wicket, and what did he do? He came on and he got a wicket straight away. And he's one of those bowlers that can do that, obviously with the bat. He's been doing it recently. So psychologically it will be a blow for England. At the same time, I think psychologically for Pakistan a slight head start, thinking that their best all-rounder is no longer playing in this test. So that might give their confidence a little boost. But for England, they've still got a strong team, but I think they will fall in Stokes' absence.
I mean, if I had to take out one player from the England team, Tanzil, that's I straight away take Stokes. This is so unfortunate, though. I mean, whatever the issue is with his family, we hope him the best. But in terms of as a Pakistan fan, it's a massive thing that he is not there. It definitely weakens England, doesn't it?
Yeah, so we've talked about sort of micro things within the game itself, but there are also sort of factors which happen, outside of the actual match itself, and this is one of them. So Stokes not playing is a big blow to the England camp, to the England team, because he's such a big team player, and he's such a sort of people sort of like radiate off his energy, off his performances. So in terms of England, yeah, they're going to feel it, and they're going to feel his, like I said before, he makes things happen. So if he's not having the best game, with the bat, he can still come on. He can still get you a few wickets out of nowhere and change the game completely. So England, yeah, will feel it. But if you talk about Pakistan, like I said, like the doctor was saying, it's more of a psychological thing as well, and a mental edge, sort of, you can say, for Pakistan now. They know that England's best all-rounder is not playing. They know the game changer isn't playing now. All of a sudden, everyone can sort of switch on now and be like, right, we've got the mental edge over England at the moment. They might be deflated. It might be a good idea for us to go full-out attack now in the second test and sort of go with the mindset that now we can actually win this.
Yeah. Moving on, Umar. The issue is Shadab and the 6 batsmen. For me, Shadab has a technique and the performance in England that he can be regarded as a 6th batsman. If he has failed miserably over past tours, Fawad hasn't played for 10 years, and bringing him back is crucial test. And if he fails, could be curtains for his career. For me, Shadab can stay just for his batting and bowling some overs. There is that thing. I mean, Shadab didn't do much wrong, and his record, actually, when you look at England, in England, that would have been his 450 in England in, I think, 3 tests or 4 tests.
Yeah.
So he has performed with the bat in England, but I think it's unfair on him to be regarded just playing him as a batsman. I think if you play him as an all-rounder. You just do not play him as a batsman. And just looking at the Southampton game, England got away with it there by playing that surface. They're not gonna put up another spinning wicket. They're not gonna make that mistake again. It'll be a pretty flat wicket at Southampton. They're not gonna sort of walk into that issue where our spinners can actually dominate the game. So I would play Fawad anyhow. Anyone else that would make any differences out of this? No, I don't think so. Imran said, "Are Azhar Ali's days as captain numbered? Should he play down the order?" There's a few people have said he could play down the order. Hope how do you do that? How do you sort of change someone's order straight away? In fact, he's always played as number 3. He opened. Can he bat at 5 or 6?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, that he's played practically most, if not all, of his career at 1, 2, or 3. I don't think he's ever played at 4. Might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure he's never played at 5 or 6. So you start pushing him down the order, and if you start pushing him down the order, that's just going to change the makeup of the team for everyone else. It's going to change up there. I wouldn't do that. He's played his career at 1, 2, or 3. If he succeeds there, fine. If he can't cut it there, if he's not good enough there, then look to play someone else. But I wouldn't start creating spaces in the team for him. I don't think it's like if you look at Joe Root, for example, there's always discussions about should Joe Root play at 3, should Joe Root play at 4. But Joe Root is the kind of batsman that you'd think that he's going to excel no matter which one of those positions he's going to play at. Okay. The problem is that if you pair Azhar lower down the order and say 5 or 6, you're not sure what that's going to do for the team. You don't have full confidence in Azhar as a batsman anyway. Now you're pushing him down to kind of hide him, but he's going to have to walk out there to the middle. So I think that's going to do more harm than good. So personally, I wouldn't do it.
Doctor, you don't really hide at number 6 though, do you? Because technically, if your team's batted decently, the number 6 batsman is going to be batting against a new ball again. So you're not exactly hiding him, are you? You're basically putting him against a new ball again.
You're not hiding him, but from his point of view, imagine being in pretty bad form, and then you on top of that, then you get told actually go and bat at number 6. What is that going to do to his confidence? Will he be able to perform there? That's added pressure of not only that he's not finding his form, but then having to perform at a new number for him. I think they have to back him the way he is at the moment, and I think I'm hoping for him that in the next test and the 3rd test he does score some runs, because after this series there's going to be a lot of immediate pressure on him.
Yeah. Tanzil, I'll let you take the next one. It's Deb again.
Yeah.
Is there a place for Imam in the batting lineup? There's that little. Some people are saying, how about playing 3 openers?
I think I said this to someone. If Pakistan want to play the extra batsman and they don't want to play Fawad, they don't want to play Shadab, then could they bring in Imam to open with Abid Ali? Could they play Azhar at 3? Then you got Babar 4, Shafiq at 5. Sorry, Shan Masood. Sorry, as well. I was
just thinking you're dropping Shan.
Sorry, no, I don't want to drop Shan. Sorry. So your opening would be you could try Shan and Imam, or Imam and Abid, either one, and then you've got sort of. I think in tests, right, you play your best batsman at 3 and 4, right? So who in tests at the moment are Pakistan's best 3 and 4? I know we've got Babar, obviously, who operates one of the slots. Yeah. So who is going to be your number 3? You've got a choice.
Form, it'll be Azhar, but he's out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. So could you then possibly bring in, say, Abid Ali to open up with Imam, and then play Shan at 3 and Babar at 4? Would you push Shafiq down to 6? And it's just. It can be done, but then again, just like what we're talking about, do you really want to start changing everyone around? You want to change everyone's orders and tell someone to bat here, bat there, and then you just breaking the nucleus of the team. You know, it's sort of already set. You know, your top 5 in Pakistan are generally set at the moment, i.e. there's a high chance that for the next 2 tests, the top 5 is not going to be changed. So do you go about then disrupting your whole top 5 for an extra batsman? You know, it's up to Pakistan to decide. I'm not too sure.
It's moving too many people around. But we've only got 10 minutes to go, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 questions, and then we need to sum up the show as well. So for England, will Ben Stokes be a huge miss? He's proven to be a match winner. I think we've discussed that. I think if Anderson was missing, then it probably be Curran who will come in. Would playing 6 batsmen be better? Shadab versus 4 Adalam in the mix. I would go with 6 batsmen. It's not a spinning wicket. Do we really need 2 spinners? I think we've gone through that as well, so we can whiz through to the next one. I believe Pakistan should play Imam at 3 and drop the captain to 5. I think that's exactly what we just discussed now.
Yeah.
So I think we've gone through there. And Zain asks Tanzil a question. So I'm going to only let Tanzil answer this. Why does it literally feel like a heartbreak each time Bobby is dismissed?
Look, I think we've been deprived of some amazing batsmen for a long, long time. I'd say, I've grown up in the era of Inzamam, Yunus Khan, Misbah-ul Haq, Mohammad Yusuf. Those are my sort of childhood batsmen. So I think since the Miss You retirement, I don't think Pakistan have had an amazing batsman that could just dominate in sort of all 3 formats in a way. So, every time Babar gets out, it's like the backbone of the team's been broken, and, it's all downhill from there. So, that's why I think we feel that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We've got a couple of more comments, and then that is us done with the side. We need to be psychologically strong. Problem with our team is when we lose a couple of wickets, we go into the shell. We need to learn from other teams and how they counter-attack after losing wickets. Yes, and I don't know. It's one of them. You need the players to be able to counter-attack as well. There's we did it the first innings, didn't we? We counter-attacked. There was a point where Shadab counter-attacked, and then he lost his wicket. And then in the second innings, there's a point where we tried to counter-attack with Asad and Rizwan. And we had the run out, and then obviously Yasser at the end. So we do try it. It's execution, I guess. It really is. And with Broad and Wokes, Doctor, they had nothing to lose today. They had to really go for it.
Yeah, I think again when we were 5 down, I think back in the day we had the likes of Seam Wakar, they would literally go through that middle lower order. But I think again a little bit of an experience. There were a few balls that went down the leg side. There were a few that were too full, and I think once they got away, started getting runs, they got more and more confident. And I think after that, it was going to always be very difficult to get them out and stem those runs. And the fact we played at an exceptionally high run rate as well, we didn't even really get a chance with the new ball. Had they played a little bit slower, or we retained them a little bit, we may have had a better chance with the new ball. But by then, it was too late.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and that's I think us done. I think we've got one more last one, which said Barber at 3, Azhar at 4. It's one of them. You're protecting Azhar that way, maybe a little bit more, but then do you really want your Barber to be walking out, say 5 for 1 after 2 overs? Do you really want Barber to be walking out then? It's not when Smith, Kohli, Williamson, Root. I know Root's batting at 3 right now, but he doesn't like batting at 3. So all your top batsmen, even in the past, have always batted at 4. You need to protect your best batsman. So I don't think I move Babar at all. I'm going to round this up, and I'm going to come to the Hulk first. Predictions.
Pakistan win, as always. I think that it'll be interesting to see how the team play. We're 1-0 down. We've got backs against the wall. There will be 1 or 2 changes in the team. It'll be interesting to see how they deal with this. So I'm expecting them to come out fighting. We've said that as long as they put up a fight, that's all we want. So I'm expecting them to, have a bit more application, even from a batting perspective, just to take your time. We spoke about counter-attacking. Counter-attacking doesn't always mean that you hit boundaries, that you hit 4s and 6s. Counter-attacking can just mean that you rotate the strike. You don't let the pressure build up. You don't let the opposition get too many maidens. Just rotate the strike. Just keep the runs ticking along. 2, 3, 4 runs and over. That's absolutely fine. So, yeah, I'm just expecting a bit more application. But the one thing that I still want to see is that grit, that determination, in the field, putting the pressure on the batsman. I still expect to, if Naseem plays, still expect to see him charging in, staring the batsman down, intimidating him. I expect to see a bit of banter between the players around the field. Yeah, Pakistan win.
Tanzil?
But like we said at the earlier part of this program, that it wasn't a disaster by Pakistan. There were just the sort of few moments where they kind of lost the game. They played well. They won more sessions than England did. And, I think that the team, it was a good mix. And now, do they make any changes to the team? I'm not so sure. I feel like they might just go with the team that they had, purely for the fact that I think that, like I said, they didn't play terribly, right? They didn't play that bad. And the sun has been baking down on the Southampton wicket. And so it might be susceptible to cracking sort of day 4 and 5 as well. I remember Wasim Akram actually said at the end of the first day that, he wouldn't play 2 spinners, but Ian Ward and Michael Atherton actually stopped him and said that he wouldn't be so sure about that because of how the pitch might end up being. So I wouldn't be surprised if Pakistan go with the same team, but if they were to change anyone, they might want to take Naseem out, bring Wahab in, only because Wahab can get the late ball, the old ball to start doing things, and that's sort of where Pakistan also lost the momentum in the first test. So you've got that different angle as well with the left arm sort of ball swinging in with the older ball. So they might play him. Do they play an extra batsman? That's anyone's guess. I think no one can answer that question.
Who's going to win?
I think it's going to be a draw.
Draw.
Yep, I think it's going to draw.
And Doctor?
I think there's a lot of positives to take from that first game from Pakistan. I genuinely expect them to do that well after playing after 6 months. And I think they've got the best coaching and management from behind them. They've got the likes of Waqar Yunus, Misbah Yunus, Khan, Mushi, to motivate them, to get them and I think if they bat well, I think Pakistan can win this test match. I think both teams all bowl well, and they have done it. Whoever bats better will win.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that's us very much done. I keep saying, can Pakistan bounce back? I think, we all predict Pakistan can bounce back. They weren't bad. They weren't bad at all. It's we must remember that there's 2 teams out there. They're both trying to win. And in a game like that, and how tight that game was, it was always going to go one way or the other. It could have gone Pakistan's way. It went England's way. So I'm actually looking forward to Thursday. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you to the guests. I think Hulk will be leading us on Thursday. I'm taking a day out, so he's going to be leading the show on Thursday. Stay happy, keep your families happy, keep supporting the team, keep the feedback coming. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.